Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Now today we are going to take a look at the Egreat A10, which as you can see on screen is not the usual box in terms of size, weight and build quality. Now that being said, let's go straight for it. Hope that you guys enjoy the video and I'll see you in a few seconds. And we are back. So starting as always with the unboxing experience. As you can see on screen, this box comes really well packed. It has a huge user manual that you can see on screen. And although I usually don't read guides or user manual, I have to give this to Egreat. They built a user manual that will be really useful for those of you that never use the Android TV box. And I know that the channel has a lot of or a huge community that uses Android TV boxes, but when we imagine our father, our mother and people in that situation that never use the Android TV box, then this user manual makes total sense. Now with this said, you have enough time, or you have had enough time to see the contents of the packaging, so let's move on. So looking closer at it, it has the best build quality that I've seen so far. It's all built of this all aluminium, well constructed on the front, on the bottom, on the top and everywhere. This is a beautiful machine in terms of aspect and in terms of aesthetics and build quality, as I said. At the front it has a display that shows some info like a time, resolution, internet connection if it's RG45 or Wi-Fi. Now it has a cooling fan, and one of the things that I love about it is that it has a firmware integration that we can control if we want the fan to switch off completely, so we will never hear it. It has the smart mode, which is the default, and it will have those temperatures that will tell when the fan will kick on, and then we can customize the temperature that we want the fan to kick on or off, and this will depend on the area that we live, if it's too warm or not, and so on and so forth. But what I can say is that even when the fan kicks on, if we are about 2 or 3 meters away from the box, we will not hear it. So it's really silent, and besides being silent, it's great to see that we can control it and use it the way that we prefer. Now on the front cover, as we can see, we can open it up like an old VCR, for example. This is the thing that comes to my mind when I look at it. And what we can do is we can place a 3.5-inch hard drive inside so that we can use with this machine, which actually has a Samba server option. So for those of you that don't have a NAS unit, this can replace sort of a NAS, especially to move files around, movies, music and so on and so forth. And in terms of storage, we also have the option, besides this 3.5-inch bay, we can connect another drive. It's not so elegant, but we can connect another drive at the back with the SATA connection, SATA cable included, so we can have at least 8 terabytes of storage, which I did test it out and worked great. Now moving to the connectivity, as you guys can see on screen, it has a lot of connectivity, including USB 3.0. Now with the size of this box, I would probably ask to have 1 or 2 more USB ports, but I'm okay with the connection. I don't use more than a couple USB ports on my Android TV boxes, and if any of you guys will use, then my suggestion is just to use a multi-port adapter for the USB ports. But that being said, in terms of connectivity, as you guys can see, it's really complete and it has almost everything that we need on a machine like this. Now moving to the remote control, guys, which is right over here. This could be one of the best remotes that I've used so far, and the only reason that it's not is because it's an infrared remote like everything else. If this was a wireless remote, I would say that this is a complete solution. It has a really great feature, which is the keys light up, so we can use it in the dark without being guessing which key we are pressing, and it has everything that we need to use the common apps like Kodi and so on and so forth. But my suggestion always goes on the sense that if we want to take more advantage of an Android TV box and use a browser, for example, we will need a wireless remote, and I will leave a link down below so that you guys can see a comparison that I did a while back So this will be an option for those of you depending on how you want to use your box. If you want to use it on the standard mode, then this will be fine. But if you want to use apps that are not designed for this kind of device, then we will need a wireless remote. Now, moving to the launcher, I was surprised as well, because usually launchers are copy-paste regarding the common brands that we see here on the channel. But this one, actually, they had to put a lot of work into it. And as you guys can see on screen, it's not what we are used to see on launchers on the Android TV boxes. It looks really well designed. It is smooth to use. It is easy to use even for someone that has never used an Android TV box. It's very intuitive. As you can see on the menu, everything is there, and we will also find some advanced options and some basic options, as you can see on the fan configuration, display options such as the color profile, HDR, auto frequency, Blu-ray options, which is one of the things that this machine has, capable of reading Blu-rays and Blu-ray menu, which is not common, and then the audio output and more. And regarding the audio, this is something that I cannot test here, but I will leave a link down below for the official website of Egreat, and they have all the specifications there of the audio pass-through. And as you guys can see probably on the images and right over here on the front of the box, it has a lot of types of audio pass-through. So this is something to consider, those of you that are looking for a machine that can be plugged into an AV receiver and output all kinds of audio pass-through. But before we move on, this is an Android TV box, so even if the launcher is really well designed, we can just install any other launcher and we can customize it the way that we want. And as you can see on screen, there's an example on usually how I use a Android TV box. Now, this machine has online updates and they are working fine, which I did test it out and I'll show you on screen. And then in terms of specifications, the A10 is using the high silicon SoC, the 3398C V200. This is not the first time that I use this SoC. It has 2 GB of RAM and 16 GB of flash storage, running Android 5.1. Now, moving to the benchmarks, as you guys can see on screen, and I will give you a few seconds so that you can check out the numbers and compare with other machines. But what I can say is that it features the SoC, the high silicon that we just seen, which is based on the A53 Cortex CPU, and it's in line, the numbers, it's in line with machines that also are based on the A53 CPU. So no surprises here. It has enough power to run everything that we need in terms of Android. And that being said, let's go for the real usage, because that's what you guys are here waiting for. Now, starting with Netflix, this machine will only play up to 480p or SD quality, as you guys want to call it, because it lacks the DRM level and also the Netflix license. On YouTube, we will be able to play 1080, and that's a maximum resolution that we will be able to, which is usual as well in this type of device. And I did play around with the tablet version and the Android TV version, and both worked great. Next, I did play around with my ESP TV service, and as you guys can see, it works flawless. I had no issues at all using that service, but of course it's only available here in Portugal, this particular case. Now, this machine comes with VDM XBMC, which is a premium fork of Kodi, and it has a lot of advantages. I'm not going to waste your time here, but I will leave a link down below so that you guys can check it out, what you get extra when using VDM XBMC. But what I can say is that for the regular tests that I do in terms of bitrate, in terms of codecs, in terms of video and audio wrappers, did play everything from 10-bit 4K videos, 8-bit 4K videos without any issues at all, and of course 1080 with the codecs H.265 and H.264 without any issues at all, as you guys can see on screen. Now, I also tested out as usual with Kodi. Latest version at this moment is 17.3, and the results were the same. So here I'm really happy to see that this machine works flawless in terms of video, which is what we use the most for this kind of box. Now, moving along to the default player, which is usually something that I don't mention because they are all the same, but this one here I think that deserves a little bit of our attention, mine and yours of course, because they put once again a lot of work into it. This is if I remember, the first and only default player that comes on a box that actually will organize our library. And as you guys can see on screen, it will look a lot similar to what we can find on any other MIDI players such as Kodi, Plex, MB, and so on and so forth. So this is not the usual default player that comes on an Android TV box and will organize all our library. Now I would also like to mention that besides organizing everything, when I did mention Blu-ray playback, as you guys can see over there, it will identify the type of movie, if it's Blu-ray or not, and it will give us the menu and so on and so forth. This will work similarly on VDM XBMC as well, but you will have an idea right over here. Now, as you guys know, I do not use Blu-rays, but for those of you that use Blu-ray images, this will be a great option. Now, moving to the gaming department and starting with Android games, as you guys could imagine and expected, it played everything fine. I did play around with Respondables as usual and also Asphalt 8 Airborne, and the results were just flawless. I had no issues, no lags at all. The graphics were really good and the response of the machine was great. On the other hand, unfortunately, this machine was not able to achieve good results in terms of game stream, which is something that I really love, as you guys know. And as you can see on screen, it has roughly about 300 milliseconds in terms of delay, which is huge. And by the way, I was using, as always, the Ethernet connection or the ERG45 connection, so that is fast connection to my computer. And even though it was not able to play, I did try around with 1080 at 60 frames per second, which is what I use in every single box. And then I did go down to 720 at 60 and still a no-go, and then 720 at 30 we can get something lowering the bandwidth, but even so, I do believe that the firmware is not at this moment ready for game stream, and hopefully this is something that they can fix in the future. Now, the last test that I did was regarding AirPlay, and once again, as you can see on screen, it's not perfect. It was not bad at all. It was not the smoothest that I've seen so far, but really acceptable. Hopefully you can see on screen that is sometimes a delay over there, and I'm really picky about this, so hopefully they can fix also the firmware that it can accept a little bit better AirPlay, which is something that I use here on a daily basis on our living room TV. But what I can say is that the audio was perfect, only the image from time to time it had a little glitch over there. So in conclusion, guys, what I can say is that this is not a cheap machine. This is not the usual machine that we are used to see on the market that we can get for 50, 60, 100 US dollars, euros, pounds, whatever. But it's not the usual box also in terms of features, in terms of build quality, in terms of things that we can do, especially for those of you that are going to use audio pass-through, that are going to use Blu-ray images and so on and so forth. So this will depend on a single case scenario if it's worth it or not, because that is something that I cannot tell over here. It's something that you have to judge for yourself. And that being said, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. As always, my name is Roberto, and I'll see you on the next one.